there was one position change. Marcus Stripling, who had moved from the defensive end position over to the linebacker, a rush linebacker position. It's one of those things. It's going to be interesting to see how he adjust to that position. Stripling is a guy who, in his Sooner career and even at the high school level, has always been a guy who's played with his hand in the ground at a defensive end spot. So moving him over the linebacker, he's probably got a better body to play that linebacker position. But it'll be interesting how he adjusts through the spring. It seems to be doing well, but it's pretty crowded from a rush in perspective. And I think one of the other things that we kind of missed to talk about from a linebacker perspective is, Caleb Kelly was a guy that was talked about a little bit, obviously over the spring, kind of coming back to the Sooner program. And he did an interview, and he was very, very honest. I think it was one of the better interviews from a player. Of course, you would expect somebody like that that's been in the program for 6 years. This being his 6th year, to be very well spoken and be passionate about the program. But it was kind of interesting, hearing his commentary. He was a guy that really never even thought twice about coming back, which is obviously kind of speaks to his character and his willingness to be a great football player. It remains to be seen how much he can kind of get in the fold this year. Having two knee injuries. He talked a little bit about, he's been around this being his 6th season. He's seen a lot. He knows the terminology. He knows the plays. He's kind of a coach on the field in terms of his ability to see the plays. But he said early on in the spring, he was in a position where he could see it, but his body couldn't react at the same speed that his mind was reacting. Then he was talking about here over the last week that his body was starting to catch up with his mind a little bit. So, he might not make a big impact, definitely in the spring, but as his body gets better, as he continues to get stronger and faster, it'll be kind of interesting to see how he's able to get into that linebacker room. Certainly, he's not going to be a starter, but he could be a guy that comes off the bench and spots, and based on our depth discussion that we've been talking about, a guy that can provide solid depth should any of those guys go down.